Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Friday the 13th of October 2023. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed down 0.6% today, breaking a 6-day streak of positive results. Tech stocks and real estate investment trusts led the way lower, while healthcare and utility companies tended to outperform. Some of the best performers on the day included CSL, which has been sold off for most of the rest of the week, Perpetual, after it announced solid funds under management numbers, and Bega Cheese. Worst was minor Chalice Mining. The banks were generally lower, so too the oil and gas players, while the big iron ore miners were mixed. The retailers were lower. Among the tech stocks, Xero, REA and WiseTech Global all fell pretty hard. Industrial property giant Goodman was off 1.5%, while Transurban, Aristocrat Leisure and James Hardie all performed poorly. Story number 2, tomorrow Australians head to the polling booths around the country to vote yes or no on the Indigenous voice to Parliament. The Australian Electoral Commission said they'll have about 100,000 people manning booths across the country. Millions, of course, have already voted. Reports today say that leading Yes campaigner Noel Pearson has conceded the voice to Parliament referendum is headed for defeat, saying Australia was a hard country now and nothing seemed to persuade white Australia that the Constitution did not entirely belong to them. Certainly the polls suggest that the no vote will win tomorrow. Story number 3, in the Middle East, the first flight of Australians fleeing Israel is due to depart tonight, bound for London. There's been about 19 people seeking assistance to leave Gaza as well, the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said today. Defence Minister Richard Marles said hundreds of Australian citizens are trying to get out of the region. There's an estimated 10,000 Australians in Israel. With a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip by Israel now likely and casualties on both sides counted in the thousands, politicians from around the world are hoping the conflict can be de-escalated. In Australia, pro-Palestinian rallies were planned for Canberra, Perth and Brisbane today, and Melbourne, Sydney and Adelaide over the weekend. Meanwhile, Israel's military directed the evacuation of hundreds of thousands of civilians in Gaza City ahead of a feared ground offensive. The United Nations said there was a warning from Israel to evacuate 1.1 million people living in the north of Gaza within 24 hours. The UN said that's impossible. Story number 3, local tech group Atlassian has agreed to acquire video messaging startup Loom for $975 million. It's about 1.5 billion Aussie. It's the largest deal ever done by Atlassian. Essentially, it's a bet that more professional collaboration and instruction will be done remotely. Loom lets users record videos from their computer screens and share them with co-workers. The product is used by companies for tasks like onboarding new employees, reviewing code, sharing feedback, explaining documents, and all-hands meetings, according to Bloomberg. The startup's ambition for video aligns very much with our views about the future of work, Atlassian co-chief executive Mike Cannon-Brookes said. He added that work among employees on different schedules and in different time zones is a bigger and bigger deal all the time. Good luck to them. And story number 5, US inflation figures were released overnight, and it wasn't good news for those hoping interest rate rises are over. Headline inflation rose 0.4% last month, while core inflation in the world's biggest economy, that of course excludes volatile items such as food and energy, core inflation rose 0.3%. The year-on-year growth rate held at 3.7%. Economists were hoping it might have ticked lower. That pushed Wall Street lower, with the main indices falling around 0.5% this morning. It also pushed the Aussie dollar lower because higher rates in the US makes the greenback more attractive. The Aussie dollar is trading just a bit above 63 US cents as we head to the weekend. That's it for the afternoon report for Friday, the 13th of October, 2023. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Instagram, X and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the weekend past 5 by Fear and Greed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.